Welcome back to 7th Grade Mustache. On today's episode, we'll be speaking about the NEGROVERSE. The people, the places, thought spaces, the vibes, the styles of various tribes, the faces. The way black people live in a different world based on a different experience of reality. The multiverse of Negroes. The universe that meets the one of white people, Asian people, and Spanish speakers. Entire events, movements, and ways of thinking that do not appear in the parallel world of the whites. When these things do appear, they are met with amazement, bewilderment, and sometimes disdain. It is the whole reason there are separate award shows for black achievement, black high school prom, mentorship programs, and after-school programs. For those of you outside that universe that may take offense to this, I say, nope, it's not about you. Black people would wait lifetimes for other people to address their specific needs. Like the saying goes, ain't nobody got time for that. Many years ago, I had a conversation with my kung fu teacher, a Chinese man. He asked me what I wanted from martial arts. I told him to expand my awareness and learn as much as possible. I told him learning the language would help me go even further. To that he said, some doors will open for you, but many will remain shut. You are not Chinese. To that I said, good. I don't need anything from behind those sealed doors. You see, I understood what he meant right away. People protect their culture from outsiders. Rightfully so. Lately, I've been pondering how much exposure is too much. These days, everyone's dirty laundry is on the sidewalk for the world to see. And I often think about these things when I see ridiculous shit posted on social media. People sharing way too much. Sometimes it's troublesome. Sometimes it bothers me. And then other times I'm like, well, that's just some ignorant motherfucker. I can't be concerned with that bullshit.
This shit becomes way, way too frequent nowadays. Before, it was an aberration. You know what I'm saying? But now, it's be thinking that shit a lot more now.
Black people have always looked out for each other in various forms. This is not only because of shared oppression, because it is who we are. There is that famous unwritten rule where if you see a black person being jumped or attacked, you jump in to help even the odds. The August 8th, 2023 appearance of Aquamane and the Black Justice League diving in to help a black security guard fight off multiple white attackers in the Montgomery Riverfront street brawl. This is one of the few recorded appearances of the Black Justice League. Black superheroes have been around since the early days of fighting lions and other wild animals in prehistoric Africa, or the south side of Pangea, as we like to call it. But very important things, such as historical perspective, are recorded by black historians. So much of the education system and institutions were built on lies about the true history of black people. Yet dedicated researchers like Chancellor Williams, Dr. Francis Cress Wessling, Carter G. Woodson, Ivan Van Sertima, and many others brought truth to black people in need of greater self-awareness.
You as a black man, are you afraid of the Ku Klux Klan, my brother?
No, I am not.
But why not? I mean, because, let me explain why I asked that question. Because all they are a footnote in the history. All they are is like in a story. If you want to make a story scary or poignant, like, well, what's the one with Sam Jackson? And they deserve to die, burn in hell.
Time to kill.
Yeah. So all the Klan is a convenient thing that you stick in for drama in a story. Yeah, that's all they are. Because most black folks ain't afraid of the Klan. Now, the only black folks that'll be afraid of the Klan, I'm gonna give you an example. So that Kamal
Bell.
Yeah. So I guess when he had some reality show, at some point in time, he was interviewing these Klan dudes, and he's all, nigga, look like a fucking runaway slave, nigga, just panting on air. Where's your dignity? Where's your, I can fight a motherfucker one-on-one? Again, the reason I bring this up, because during the Battle of Montgomery that you brought up on the riverfront, I hear a lot of people, especially women, you hear them say, "We are not our ancestors," and they move their head and neck like a dumb motherfucker. We are not our. I'm like, what do you mean? I ain't taking it. I'm like, no. So let me help you out with your ancestors. Your ancestors kicked ass on a regular basis. The Klan really wasn't winning. And I brought this up in the past. The Lumbee tribe. At the time, this is, I guess, the 40s, the Klan was coming to their area doing a rally. So the black folks from like the DC area called the head dude of this tribe, like, hey, the Klan's in your area. Do you need help? And dude like, nah, we got this. So the Klan shows up and there's a rally in their area. And this tribe beats the hell out the Klan. It kicks their ass all up and down the coast. And if you go on the internet right now and you look up Lumbee or Lumba tribe, whichever, and you'll see a bunch of Native Americans with the Klan flag. They're wearing the Klan flag, and they're wearing their their garb
because it's a trophy.
Yeah, as a trophy. So how come you don't ever hear those stories? Because the Klan is still in place today to scare and keep niggas in line. It's still there to keep black. This is what we mean by the Negroverse. In the Negroverse, people, white folks can tell you a story about the Klan, and you like, oh shit, the Klan is out there. Or even now to this day, like another thing that you always hear about, in America, they still got sundown towns. I'm like, okay, I don't know if they do or don't. I've traversed many states in this country, and everywhere I drive, I got a couple weapons on me. If someone decides to usher me out their town, let them try. I don't care if it's a cop or whatever. I will protect myself. And that's what we don't get. We've always been this way. We've always kicked ass. But instead, in this new media-driven society, what they'll do is they'll hit you with a story or a movie or a book or something. There's a movie called The Green Book. How come they're making all these movies nowadays, 12 Years a Slave, that still keep niggas in line? That's my issue with that kind of stuff. There's so many articles about people winning, black folks winning the Academy Award, and it's usually for a negative portrayal of a black person. Denzel got one for Training Day, and he was nominated for Glory. Halle Berry got it for Monsters Ball. That's not Morgan Freeman. Didn't he get one for Driving Miss Daisy? So this is what we mean by the Negroverse. This is where our society runs into this other society, and sometimes we win, sometimes we lose.
Because, for example, the reason why those movies got so much backlash, or those actors got backlash for playing those roles, is because that is a distortion of reality.
Yes.
That is a white person's view of reality.
Of a black person.
Now,
yes.
Right now, the Negroverse is clashing with the world's perception of what has transpired inside the Negroverse with Sean Puffy Combs, Puffy, and his Black Epstein operation that he has been running for decades. Now, these things have been known in the Negroverse. And here's another thing. R. Kelly thrived inside of the Negroverse, and nobody did nothing about R. Kelly.
And until a white person gets outraged by something, we're not defending them as to say that because there are certain parts of this narrative. So, which one you want to touch on, R. Kelly, or you want to touch on Puffy? Real quick.
Let's go.
Okay. So the problem with Puffy, Luke and Ed Lover, these are two rap icons, said, look, the funny thing, their complaint is Puffy's been this way for years, and we've known about it. We've all known about it. But it's odd that this happens to him once he goes up against, what's the name of the big liquor distributor? It's the largest liquor distributor in the world. It's the one that owns Ciroc, and it's the one he had a deal with. They cut a deal with him.
They're old banking money from Italy.
I want to say Disaronno so bad, but it's not Disaronno. They have a different name. Please forgive me for not remembering. But the person that inspired him was Pharrell. So Pharrell cuts a big deal with him, and they don't promote his product. And Puffy cuts a deal with him, and they let Puffy go around for 15 years, and everybody's thinking that Ciroc belonged to Puffy. Sean Combs. It did not. And so at some point in time, he cut a deal where he wants to get his own alcohol out there that he actually owns, and they did not promote it properly, not worldwide or none of that stuff. And so he's like, hey, you screwing me over. He decides to sue them. That's when all this stuff gets out. Like I said, don't get me wrong. I'm not saying he's not guilty of something. The stuff that he's charged with, but let's fast forward to now. So originally, when they raided his home in LA, there was a list of 100 names. And one of the people on that list was Lucien Grange. He is the head of Universal Music Group. Now that they raided his house in Florida, he has 2 houses in Florida. They raided, I shouldn't say raided, once they searched the house and down in Florida. Now he's being charged in the Southern District of New York. He's not, that whole list of names is not even a part of it no more. Lucien Grange is nowhere in the complaint. And all they're sitting there talking about the ARs without serial numbers. They're talking about the drug distribution. They're talking about it's funny how it changed because, like I said, they are protecting the participants. This is something, and I'm giving an example. We saw this in the Franklin Credit Union scandal. The pimps got arrested, but none of the Johns got arrested. None of the people that procured these minors. That list of names just disappears. This is the same situation. So they're going to, the reason they're hitting him with so many charges, they want to make sure he goes to jail for life. But they also want to make sure that none of those names hit the public. None of these party goers. He has been having these parties for years. They're trying to find all the video they can. And this is what we mean by the Negroverse, that, for once white folks got outraged by his behavior, they saw the video of Cassie, all of a sudden, that's when they start. But as black folks, any black person over the age of 33 knew about Puffy. When you hear people like Ed Lover, like, yeah, I've been to Puffy parties, but I always left early enough. And that people were all laughing at that joke.
Marlon Wayans said the same thing recently in an interview.
Yes. Now, the only question you got to ask yourself right now is, do you believe it? Do you really think that nigga left early? Or do you think because I can see Ed Lover, because Ed Lover's been there as Puffy grew, been there the entire career. Ed Lover has been in hip hop since 87.
Yeah, but what you don't understand is that Marlon Wayans didn't need Puffy's influence because his brother was way bigger. The Wayans are bigger than Puffy.
Different kind of big.
Here's the thing though. What you're forgetting is that musicians always want to cross over to Hollywood. The Wayans were already in Hollywood because of Robert Townsend. Robert Townsend and his brother Keenan are the reason why, what led to listen, those two guys are the reason why we got In Living Color. Okay? And In Living Color had already blown up before, when Puffy was just running the streets. So you got to understand that he is not going to look up to Puffy. He's looking up to his big brother, who has already cracked this glass ceiling in Hollywood.
Look, don't forget Robert Townsend's partners in crime. He was actually one of the gang members in there, Marlon and Sean. So, like I said, these guys are essentially child actors who worked their way up in their own family and didn't need that influence. The problem with Puffy, you have people like, I'm gonna throw a name out there, Kevin Spacey. Remember when Kevin Spacey was in the middle of all this stuff with improper touching of these boys in England, all that stuff? I seen him at a Puffy party before, and I'm like, yep. And then when I heard about his case, I'm like, he did it. If that guy is hanging out at a Puffy party, and here's the
he ain't there
part.
for the women,
dude. How about this? That I don't, Rob B or whatever his name is, the person that launched the biggest information was some guy's music producer named Rob B or something like that, and he was supposed to be helping Puffy with social media. So what happened, he has hundreds of hours on his cell phone. What happened was Puffy would take his cell phone and film stuff. One of the things that got filmed was Cuba Gooding Jr. Cuba Gooding Jr. was coming on to this dude, and they filmed it. And at the same time, Cuba had just got in trouble for the same thing. So, and that case gets dismissed. But then all of a sudden, you see this affidavit for the whole Puffy thing. Like I said, when the affidavit came out in L.A., in Hollywood, you saw a lot of stuff, a lot of complaints, very, very specific stuff. And one of the things that you saw was Cuba rubbing this dude on his leg and this dude pushing his hand away. And it's Rob, please forgive me, Rob, whatever his name is. And he's pushing this guy's hand away, and you see the footage, you see the stills of the video as part of the affidavit. And so, like I said, what Roscoe was telling you is that there are some people that weren't impressed by Puffy, or there's some people that didn't need Puffy shine. There are a lot of people that wanted Puffy shine. They wanted they're moons, and he's a sun, and they're reflecting that glow. They were able to be themselves in a different light. A lot of these up and coming rappers, you hear about them describing their encounters. They leave out the sex part, but the baby talks about an encounter he had with Puffy, where Puffy introduced him to Jay-Z and Beyonce, and there he said there's like 8 or 9 of us in this room, and if you listen to what he's describing, you know that he's leaving out details. He's like, yeah, I met Beyonce, I'm cool. He's leaving out details. And so that's what these Puffy parties were. They were a place where you could procure whatever you wanted. You could intersect with other people. But if you were somebody who existed outside that world, like what Roscoe described is that Wayne's family and Robert Townsend created their own, if you want to call it Negroverse, but they created their own Black Hollywood. They got people in that normally wouldn't. Hollywood Shuffle is a classic movie where you have Robert Townsend describing the perils of Hollywood. He has a director telling him, we need you to act more black. The famous line from the movie was, I ain't got no weapon, where you have these directors telling you how to be black, or how, even though he had a good family upbringing, even though his grandmama told him, like, hey, the post office is hiring. And in the movie, he does a commercial for the post office. That is what we grew up on. That's why our vision of Hollywood is different. So you got somebody, their first movie, they're dissing Hollywood. They're essentially dissing how it works. And if you paid attention, that was the warning of the shit that's going on right now. And when I say what's going on right now, we're not just talking Puffy. We're talking about Corey Haim and the other one, the two Coreys, talking about one of them was molested and what they had to do on the casting couch. So really, Hollywood Shuffle was a warning to black folks. Like, if you want to come to Hollywood, come on your own terms. You know this, but most of these young cats don't know. Robert Townsend used his own credit cards to produce that movie. He used his American Express card or whatever, some shit, and funded his own movie. And it's a classic. It's above reproach. So the idea that you got famous and you got black famous. A lot of these people ain't happy just being regular famous. They want to either be black famous or they want to be. What made Puffy so powerful is that you had all these rappers and people that wanted influence, and they offered a deal like, hey, okay, I can. Old boy from the band, did you see his interview? The skinny nigga from the band. He said, look, Puffy would help you get your points. Puffy would help you get your publishing, but you had to give up the butt, because that's what Puffy had to do. These interviews are coming out now. Now, these interviews have been around, but these are usually older interviews. We're not talking about the stuff coming out in the past month. We're talking about interviews that were shot years ago, and they're making it out now because, people didn't believe them. Now everybody's like, oh, shit. Where there's smoke, there's fire. Look, this is what we mean by Negroverse. You had people that wanted to be Puffy's friend. Look, Schultz, he was talking about Meek Mill. He's like, for somebody denying that something gay happened, you don't sound believable at all. Like, your denial does not sound adequate for somebody who's saying that something didn't happen between you and Puff. And we done seen the video of you in the pool with Puff walking around and Puffy reaching for you and you not running away. They showed the boxer, Javante Tank Davis. Tank Davis at a Puffy party. Puffy hugs him and picks him up, and Tank like, yeah, man, this ain't cool. And then later on, Puffy's coming around him. He's like, you can see this dude, like, I don't like this vibe. You see that. So yeah, this ain't new, and that's what we mean by. My boy Roscoe was very profound when he said Negroverse. He's telling you that there's existence that happens and another playing. And sometimes it's negative, sometimes it's positive. We all knew about R. Kelly because when we were in high school, we read the Vibe magazine interview, a write-up about R. Kelly and Aaliyah getting married when she was 15. And everybody says, oh, it wasn't real.
The marriage license.
I read that in high school. And so we knew this stuff. There's always been questionable behavior. The situation with R. Kelly was he was making people rich and famous, and that's all they cared about. And then so after the marriage to Aaliyah and the annulment, what happened was the pee video. And that's why everybody's like, bitch, let me pee on you. So back then there were two videos circulating. I remember because I was in a program called Upward Bound, and we had went to visit colleges in Chicago. We went to visit Northwest and some colleges. And we went on, it's called Jewtown. So we're in that area of Chicago, and they're selling on the corner, they're selling a VHS of this incident where R. Kelly pees on this minor girl. Now you fast forward, you find out that minor there was a chick, wasn't it, Sparkle, and she was one of his proteges. She gets into it with R. Kelly, and come to find out that was her niece. So she was complicit in this situation. As long as R. Kelly was producing her music, making hits, and then R. Kelly admits what happens between him and her is that she kept telling they were arguing over her second album or what should be on it. And he's like, look, do it without me. If you know so motherfucking much, do it without me. That album was a failure. That's when all of a sudden those tapes start coming out because everybody knows it came from her or her publicist or something. So yeah, and then people want to defend R. Kelly. Look, there's no defense to his behavior. His behavior has been wrong for years. He just had enough power in Chicago, and the police didn't fuck with him. Then all of a sudden, when that power and that money dries up, it's like any other drug. When you're doing cocaine and you got money, cocaine ain't a problem. When your money runs out, cocaine's a problem. When his money ran out, his proclivities were a problem. And we all saw, Surviving R. Kelly. Well, you saw the documentary where you got these young ladies who are 18, 19, but he's had his hands in them since they were 15 and 16. And the interview with Gail, the nigga tells on himself. Because he doesn't say that he didn't have sex with them. What he says is their parents their parents brought them to me, as if to say that because their parents brought them to you, what you did was excusable. No, their parents should be arrested too. R. Kelly and their parents both need to be arrested. But what happened was these parents said, okay, I won't lose control of my daughter. I'm going to take them to R. Kelly, and basically offering their child up as a sacrifice to get somewhere. And again, this is the same thing we saw. We brought this up on past podcasts, of course, is the Franklin Credit Union scandal. When Roscoe talks about that, we talk about that from people we saw things happen.
The Franklin Credit scandal happened in Omaha, Nebraska in the mid to late 80s. But there were people that knew about this within the Negroverse before it became
the whole time
common knowledge.
Before the books were put out there, before the Discovery Channel documentary, which was shelved. Like if you go on there, it's called Conspiracy of Silence. If you go on YouTube right now, you'll find a documentary called Conspiracy of Silence. In the first 5 minutes are there describing this documentary, how it was produced in the early 90s, pardon me. And it was supposed to go on the Discovery Channel. And that the day that it was supposed to air, literally, somebody shows up, pays $300,000 to the producer, and takes the tape. And so these are kind of grainy VHS copies that you're watching. And it starts out with a guy by the name of Larry King singing at the Republican National Convention. And then you find out this guy's from Omaha. He ran the Franklin Credit Union. He was big in the Republican Party, but he was a pedophile. He was gay, and he was providing children to these big wigs in D.C. And these kids that he was getting these kids from Boys Town. It's a freaking scandal. But this is what we mean by Negroverse, that people in the black community knew about this for years. One of the funny jokes that Roscoe loves is when we had friends that used to hang out at this guy's house. He paid money. He was a sponsor for a local basketball team called Kappa. And one of my homeboys that lived next door to me was on that basketball team, and they would spend the night at this guy's house.
Stop. You're missing key points in this.
I'm trying to speed it up, bro. I know you're busy.
No. The basketball team was called Kappa. Where did that name come from? Why
It's a
would they
Greek letter.
name a black youth basketball team after a black fraternity? That's very strange, unless they're trying to groom them for life in that world. Now, the funny
That's
thing is
complicated.
about Kappas is they tend to be pretty boys. And the funny thing is, all the ones that I have known have been walking on marshmallows. I thought that was a strange coincidence. Maybe not so much of a coincidence.
Well, how about this? My first introduction to Kappa was, remember, back in the day, I had a roommate named Lawrence. He used to live in our basement. He was a Kappa, but he was from Texas, but he went to UNO. So I saw them step in that kind of stuff. It didn't bug me. Fast forward to when I got to college, and you would see they had some dudes in there that I'm like, that ain't brotherly love. So, but again, back to what Roscoe was breaking down is there was a weird dynamic with that whole basketball team to begin with. We knew people that played for that basketball team.
What's
And
strange is that the people that play for that basketball team kind of had these, they could go in that direction and it wouldn't be that much of a stretch.
see, I have a problem
You're
with
not
that.
you're not seeing what I'm seeing. That's why you
No,
have
no,
a
no,
problem with that.
no, not at all, not at all. That's not where I'm going with it. I have a problem with that because if you get touched at that early age, were you going in that direction to begin with, or were you, as you said,
Push.
yeah, or were you groomed? So that's why I said I have a problem with that part because I, they, a
So
lot of these
then,
kids
so
were being
then,
groomed.
now think about it like this. So then, you want to create a pipeline
I,
for
preach.
kids that you would then feed to the beast. Okay,
Well,
so then I need a specific type of kid. Let's sit down and let's take the kid to Godfather's and buy him some lunch and just talk to him and see what his upbringing is like. And then 30 minutes into the conversation is like, have you ever had any uncles try anything with you? Well, there was one time. All right, we've got him. All right, you're on the team.
slow down, slow
So
down.
then you got no. So then you have this kid that has been groomed that you found that okay, like the government gets orphans to train to be assassins. You're getting
Yes.
kids who have been molested to be on this team because then you're at some point going to put a busload of these kids together and send them to DC or to Philly or to any of these parties in Raven Oaks or in Regency where they would be molested by local officials and people with public influence in the city. Go ahead.
Okay. So Roscoe, you left out a most important part, whether you did it to spare me or you did it because you see the world differently than me. But what's the one thing that all these guys say whenever you see these interviews? There was no father in the home. That was that if you paid attention. So if you have a basketball camp, basketball organization, and you see in single moms, you're going to see you can tell which kids had dads. You can tell which kids didn't. The kid that you
Dude, let me tell you something. I have been in those situations where we were playing somewhere and some guy came along and I think we were on the playground somewhere. It wasn't at school. It might have been at school, but some guy came around looking for kids for some type of like sports league or something. And you could tell he was looking for a certain
particular
type
type.
of kid. I'm like, oh, this is okay. So there was this group that was busted years ago called the Finders. And the Finders would basically get kids, abduct them, and sell them into sex slavery and sex trafficking.
I remember Johnny Gosh.
So
That's the one kid that
the reason why I'm bringing this up is because in the 80s, you were always told to beware
of the van.
of weird looking ass, not just the van, but weird ass looking dudes that came around asking questions. Now, for a little black kid, that's a tough thing to do because we have nerves of steel and a mouthful of like darts. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, we're gonna talk shit to that motherfucker, or
Yeah.
you'll give too much information.
So you are always aware of these situations or these possibility of these things happening, because you would hear about kids that would go missing, and then, which is strange because then at the same time you got the experiments in Montauk, which became the basis for the TV show Stranger Things, where these kids would go missing and they were being abducted, and there were always runaways, and these runaway kids are being used in these psychic surgery experiments. So on the other end of that, you just have people who are just using kids for sacrifices and for sexual, gratification. So you are always this. So in this, what you got to understand, what that psychic space was like for a young black kid or any kid back in those days, because we were free range children. We would go all over the city.
Yes.
So because of this, there were dangers that came with this.
Look, they have been eliminating our confidence since '86. All the you can't go out by yourself. Your parents gotta know where you are all the time. Look, we didn't grow up in that. Our parents pushed us outside.
What's strange is that there was this TV movie called Adam, and it was what basically gave a career to the father, Walsh,
John Walsh,
who basically created America's Most Wanted. Now, what's strange about this is when you dig into what happened with his son Adam, there's some real suspect type shit, questionable stuff going on there.
Because now, it's coming out now that they say that it was him, that he possibly had something with the disappearance of his son, and he just started that movement to cover the shit up, and he made a whole career out of it. Calling sheriffs, catching people on America's Most Wanted. That was a big thing in the early '90s. On Fox. Hold it. Look, I just saw an article about that, and what this woman was saying is that they eliminated play from our curriculum. By having you terrified, you don't let your kids outside. One of the most things that helps their brain develop is play, independent play. That doesn't exist anymore. So because everybody's afraid that kids are going to get snatched up, which they should be, now kids don't go out and play anymore. They don't go far away from home. Look, we used to ride our bikes for miles. Everybody teased me because I stopped at that McDonald's over there on Ames. I didn't go past that. I'm like, shit, that's a long way for me to get home. Second, y'all niggas live in the ghetto. I don't. You know what I'm saying? So, but
I, on the other hand, was an explorer, and I would go all over the city.
Yeah, hold it. Me and you went all over the city by ourselves, but there's a certain clique of people, and one of them played for that Kappa basketball team. I ain't gonna say nothing, but I was kicking it with them, and I'm like, nah, man, y'all live too far away from me.
But not even that. Like the shit that they were into was boring, and it's like for me, like none of it excited me. And I'm like, yeah, y'all doing some basic ass shit, so I'm gonna go over here and I'm gonna go in this direction and go check out all this shit out here, because y'all don't have nothing to offer me regarding mental stimulus.
Look, hey, hold it. There's two more things I want to add. Let's circle back to the Franklin Credit Union scandal. And like I said, I know this is one of your favorite stories, so I'll just go throw it out there. I had asked my mom if I could spend the night at Larry King's house, and my mom said, "What?
Fuck no."
No, she said, "Stay away from that faggot." So this is it's got to be 86, 87, because I remember we were still in grade school. Hold it, we graduated grade school in 86, so it had to be around 85-ish, because I remember the homies were playing basketball for that basketball team, and they would spend the night at his house. And they were like, man, he's giving out this, he's giving out candy, and his sons have these dope cars called Trojans, and so I was like, well, shit, I want to go there. So I left my neighbor next door. It was my friend who was spending the night over there. I said, hey, Mom, can I spend the night at Larry King's house? And she said, you stay the fuck away from that faggot. I'm like, oh. Blew my mind, because I never heard nothing about him being gay or nothing like that. But again, this is what the brother means by nigga.
What church did he go to?
He went to all of them.
Right. And what church did y'all go to?
Okay, so I went to Pilgrim, which is a black church, and so the whole thing is Larry King would visit all the churches.
That's right.
And get people.
Now your mom is an intelligent black woman.
Period.
But not only that, she has intuition. So she probably met him and saw, this ain't the way. Piccolo player is a motherfucker.
So let's back up.
Or the piccolo player is a kid fucker.
So hold it. Let's talk about everything in the Negroverse. So when it comes to the Franklin Credit Union scandal, you see this documentary and you hear about him snatching up little kids from Boys Town and molesting them and taking them to the Republican Party. But let's talk locally. So the Franklin Credit Union was a black credit union in North Omaha where mostly black folks live. He literally was taking money. He had mortgages. He was not paying the mortgage. So you had people who black folks. Again, this is the Negroverse because you're not hearing about this part. All you're hearing about is the sex part. You had black folks. You had little old ladies who never missed a payment on their mortgage. They paid their mortgage to Franklin Credit Union, but they didn't. But there was a mortgage servicer that picked it up, and they would not pay the mortgage. So what happened was you had people foreclosing on their houses that never missed a payment. So these people fucked up the black community badly. They were going from church to church, gathering people like, hey, you need to join the credit union, black-owned credit union, yada, yada, yada. And people like, oh, yeah, they'll look out for us. They're black. They fucked you. They took your house and fucked your son. That's how bad the shit was. And here's the crazy part. Now that I'm an adult, I keep running into people that either went to Boys Town and they had some shit wrong with them, and here's the crazy part. So this is the problem with the Puffy situation. There are people who were at Boys Town, black kids that were at Boys Town that were a part of that situation, but they're very successful financially. But they're either gay or they're fucked up or, there's other stuff wrong with them. There was a guy that owned a couple gas stations, not going to say his name, but they said he was at Boys Town during that period of time. So this is what we mean by the Negroverse. There's a whole side of this that wasn't just the children, which is bad, but there's a whole side where they affected an entire community, and fucked them up. I mean, it took years for people to recover from this. And like I said, you hear about the part with him going to DC and kids and stuff, but you don't hear about the part where they destroyed a whole community. And so that's what we mean by Negroverse. Also, the reason I brought up the part about Puffy is how many of these aspiring rappers or producers or people that want to be in the music industry knew how Puffy was. Same thing with R. Kelly. How many of these parents knew how R. Kelly was, but they still let their kids go down there? These guys still went to Puffy parties thinking that, okay, I want Puffy to like me and help me with my career, and my booty hole hurting once or twice ain't no big deal. That's literally how these people saw the world. And so that's what we mean that, look, I ain't saying that Puffy's innocent, but I'm saying the only reason he's guilty is because he was fucking with white folks and he tried to sue these motherfuckers. And this is something deep that 50 Cent just said. He said a civil suit can go to a legal suit very quickly. Civil and legal are supposed to be separate, right? So if I'm suing you over a car accident, I shouldn't have nothing to worry about. But what he's saying is when the person you're suing has enough money and enough connections, they'll present stuff in the civil suit that makes you look bad, and then all of a sudden you'll have police start looking at you. And that's what he's talking about. That's how this shit works. That's the Niggerverse. Black folks don't like interaction with police officers because all it takes is 2 or 3 words from a white person. Next thing you know, we're in the back of a squad car. That's why we don't. Why'd you run? Because I don't know what the fuck you on. How many times have you watched? Racism is so comfortable in our society. I was watching a show one time, one of these like FBI shows. I can't think of what it's called, and this is back in the day where they had a murder where somebody breaks into a convenience store, shoots everybody, but the tape is so grainy you couldn't see it. Well, during their investigation, they see a black guy walking with a sack, and they chase him down. This nigga walking home, and that was his lunch in the bag. But they still, because of that robbery that happened, they grabbed him out and arrested him, and they're like, look, so once they called his job and realized he only been off work 15 minutes, he could have done it, cool. But in that meantime, if you had the right police officer that didn't do his due diligence, they could have ruined that man's life. That's the Niggerverse. That's the shit that's the burden that we live with every day when you black. And you know that all it takes is a situation.
But that was speaking about what I was saying about how your experiential existence creates this universe because it is something completely isolated from the lives of others who don't experience it, don't understand it, and are completely unaware of it.
Look, about a month ago, you had an idea for the nigga technology one, and one of the things you had brought up was how the Democratic Party was fighting hard for Ozempic to be released in the black community. Let me tell you about Ozempic because I'm on that shit, nigga. Ozempic has two major side effects.
Wait, stop.
Yes, sir.
One of the biggest lobbyists for Ozempic
Come on
Capitol Hill is the NAACP. What
Hey,
the actual fuck is going on there? Why are Negroes just, going ham and just showboating for Big Pharma? So you're telling me it's a bunch of fat niggas that feel like they want to get their drugs. Look, it's just dope dealing. It's dope. That's a dope man in a different form.
You're treating the symptom, but you're not treating the problem.
problem.
Look, if you ain't eating right, if you ain't got the problem with our society is a lack of discipline. That's it. Now, I'm gonna throw some shit out here because you fuck with me because I'm honest. I'm on Ozempic. It has two side effects. The two major side effects for Ozempic, are you familiar with them? Because I know you are because I told you what they were. But for those who don't know, Ozempic, your dick don't work, but it makes your dick bigger. This is literally a side effect. Look this shit up. It makes your penis larger, but it makes it not work. I take Ozempic once a week. If I even take the shit late, my dick is hard. I literally, my dick starts growing. I'm like, God damn, I must be late for my Ozempic. It fucks you up. So why the fuck would the NAACP champion a drug that stops you from fucking? Stops you from making kids? Oh, it makes you lose a little bit of weight. I'm sorry. I was already losing weight because I had already took my life in a certain direction to lose weight. I went from 260 to 248 in 3 weeks, basically just walking every morning. And I saw one of these Gary Brecka videos, and Roscoe knows. He was talking about 30-30-30. He said if you wake up within 30 minutes of you waking up, you eat 30 grams of protein, you walk for 30 minutes. And I literally lost 26 pounds. Now I'm back up to 250 something, but I'm like, screw it, I'm just going to go walking. It had nothing to do with Ozempic. I had to start taking that later on because I had an issue with my blood sugar that wasn't coming down. Now, we already know I had a lot of trauma in my life going on, yada, 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 whatever. But the fact of the matter is this. They're pushing when we were kids, they used to always talk about something called saltpeter. And people swear to God that whenever you go on the internet, you look up saltpeter, it say it doesn't exist. But when we were kids, there were certain things that they would give to kids so their dick wouldn't get hard, so they wouldn't masturbate when they were at camp. It was called saltpeter. They would put this in your food, and all of a sudden you can't get a boner anymore. You're not sitting here playing with your erection. That's what so they swear up and down that saltpeter doesn't exist. There's no such thing as that. Man, when we were kids, we were 7, 8 years old. You would watch a movie and they would talk about it. You would watch stuff and they were like, hey, yeah, no, they put saltpeter in the food. So there is a history of white folks attacking the genitalia of black people, the sex habits of black people. Everything from the Tuskegee.
Margaret Sanger.
Margaret Sanger is the white woman that started Planned Parenthood, and she was a eugenicist. And when you read all the quotes from her, because we had the big beef we had. One of the things that Barack did was donate a shitload of money to Planned Parenthood. Planned Parenthood, Margaret Sanger said that black and brown babies were a scourge on society. And so
she was the white female Hitler.
Yeah, yes. And one of the things they said that they knew that they could not reach their goals by using the word eugenics, but they would get their goals by planning. That's why it's called Planned Parenthood. Not because you're planning to be a parent, it's because planning was a term that they used to control the races and their children. So, look, what we're saying is that a lot of this shit, as my brother would say, the piccolo player is a motherfucker. A lot of this shit is bullshit. It's thrown in our face and made you to think that they care about your health and care about your well-being, but truly they want to stop your ability to reproduce. They want to lower the world population. You see all this stuff. You hear all this stuff about 20 whatever this and 2030 and 2025, and You hear them wanting to limit your ability to travel, limit your ability to do this. I just sent you an article talking about how the Google phone and the iPhone both do the same thing, that they have a data dump at 2 a.m. The new, excuse me, the new iPhone, latest iPhone has AI, and it basically has Chat GPT. They call it Apple Intelligence, but what it does, it basically tracks all your movement, all your activities, everything, and then it sends a message to Apple at 2 a.m. every day, so they know what will,
Harvesting your data. That's exactly what
period.
that is.
And so, why is that a problem? That's a problem because then nothing you do is private. This thing analyzes your movements, tells them what you're capable of doing, and next thing you know, you got somebody knocking on your door with a search warrant for no motherfucking reason other than your phone told on you. That's the niggaverse. Look. So the whole thing about TikTok, one of the big issues with TikTok, there was a lot of information getting out that normally would not get out to the masses. But on the same token, when it was owned, I don't know who owns it now, but when it's owned by the Chinese government, that algorithm was amazing. They sent booty shaking videos and shit to black kids, but they sent intelligent videos to the Chinese children to make sure that they were doing their assignments. That's how powerful this algorithm shit is. That they're basing it on other. This is what we mean by the niggaverse. You're seeing clips of people slapping each other, popping balloons and doing goofy shit, but they're seeing people doing scientific experiments. They're seeing people doing engineering experiments. That's how powerful that algorithm is, and it will guide you in a different direction. That's what we're talking about.
Why do you think Upward Bound was created? And tell them what Upward Bound was.
Well, Upward Bound was for less fortunate children to help them go to college, basically.
No. What kind of kid?
Oh, well, the term they use is underprivileged children, but mostly
black
black
kids.
Yeah. Now, hold it. There were like 3 or 4 white kids.
Okay. Yeah, those are the tokens, but keep it real.
But yeah, it was for nigga kids to get to college. Now, okay, I'm gonna give an example. So back in the day, at Creighton University, they had 200 scholarships for black kids. And a lot of those kids came from this program called Upward Bound. Now that shit, of course, changed. Now that 200 scholarships went to all different races from everywhere. But back in the day, it was 200 black kids going to a university that they normally would not go to. Upward Bound would help prepare me for college. You know, we lived in the dorms. So when I went to college, I didn't have that.
In the summertime.
Yeah. So when I went to college, I wasn't stunned by the college lifestyle. You know this. A lot of kids, when they first go to college, the lifestyle, they get homesick. It's a different vibe. But I had already been acclimated to that because every summer when school was out, I would spend 6 weeks at Creighton University in the dorm living that life. So it helped me out a lot. Helped me out a great deal. But that's the thing. These things that actually benefit black folks ain't around anymore. They're changing this shit. They're giving you Ozempic. They're fucking your dick up, and they're telling you that this is about equality. What the fuck? Like so literally, you're not worried about people getting rid of cancer.
But
you're not
wait a
worried
minute, stop. These programs were created by educated black people to help other black families, and
yes.
So it was a way to lift black people up out of psychological and educational poverty.
Bondage.
So these things were created to sustain and lift these people up. Now, with them taking these things away because they think everything is free and clear now, it is not. You have to maintain those things because now you're dealing with the grandchild of crack babies. And so that's 2 generations of mutation. So
here's a problem. Like what you're saying is deep, but one of the biggest issues I hate is if somebody's being honest, cool. So who's the black Supreme Court Justice? Clarence Thomas. He literally said that he never benefited from affirmative action. I don't know if he's telling the truth or not because there are so many programs that were influenced by affirmative action. But on the same token,
he probably did and doesn't want to give it any credit because he hasn't toed the line for his conservative bullshit, or he's in denial.
Or his ego. You left out the third one. he could just be an egomaniac and nobody helped me. I got here on my own. Like, but at the same time, there are black folks that did not benefit from affirmative action. But on the flip side, there are black folks who, to the detriment, there are a lot of black folks that lived in the ghetto, like lived in projects, and they became something. Now, here's my question to you: Did the projects help that person or hurt that person? Because a lot of these black people, the reason they say that they weren't helped by affirmative action is because they were hurt by affirmative action, and so that's why they don't claim it. There are people that were, there's people that we know that grew up in the projects that shit fucked them up, but they still became successful. So were you helped or hurt by affirmative action? That's the question that nobody wants to sit down and dissect. How many of these people that were on food stamps, you can't have a father in the home? That shit. How many people were negatively impacted by affirmative action because there was a lot of bullshit out there that you couldn't have a father in the home? You saw that movie with James Earl Jones.
Yeah, Claudine, yes.
Yeah.
There are so many different aspects of the Negroverse, but music and entertainment and culture are a big part of it because these are forms of communication. And these forms of communication have been exploited by Jewish people in the entertainment industry. You see it in the form of Jewish writers in Hollywood making these TV shows with these bombastic, stereotypical characters like JJ on Good Times, Dynamite. Nobody talks like that. Nobody would say stupid shit like that. That was shit that was made up. Everybody on the cast would always had something to say about the way the script was written. Like, who the fuck are these people? You know what I'm saying? And these are regular ass black people that grew up around regular ass black folks.
What about when you find out that these shows had a black writer that didn't get any credit till now?
Larry Wilmore created the Bernie Mac show. And before that Bernie Mac show, there really wasn't any TV show like that. So he said he wanted to create a black Seinfeld because all the black TV shows were formulaic and stereotypical. But when you would watch the Bernie Mac show, it was anything but that. Because his style of comedy made you think about all types of things.
I got one question. What show came on Thursday nights for years that we grew up on that was the most important thing in the world?
The Cosby Show, and then that begat The Different World. A Different World was then... See, A Different World came out around the time where Upper Bound was happening and all these programs to get black kids into college. So then you have this on TV, and I'm like, man, Kadeem Hardison, Dwayne Wayne is cool. He got all the fly Jordans every week. You know what I'm saying? He's in his own style. Cool situations. You know what I mean? His own style.
It's cool to be a nerd. He's intelligent. Ain't nobody making fun of him for being intelligent. How many of these black girls all said they wanted to go to Hillman? It was there. I want to go to Hillman. I'm like,
not a real school,
dude. I'm like, God damn it, you make us look bad. That's how powerful the Cosby Show was. Oh, look, on the flip side, the one thing the Cosby Show did that I thought that hurt black people, and I've dated a couple of chicks, and they always were like on this, one job is enough. And I'd be like, who told you one job? See, I grew up in a house where my mom always had 2 and 3 jobs.
Those girls weren't wrong. The only thing is that they were aiming for high-paying jobs that would sustain a lifestyle that didn't require additional backup income. So no, they weren't wrong. They weren't wrong. The only problem is your mother.
It's not realistic.
Your mother, at times, was on that struggle bus.
Oh no, hold it. Let me help you out. My mom always said, "Hey, you need 2 or 3 jobs." Also, my mom was like, "You need some income under the table."
Your mom was on the struggle bus because she was doing it by herself.
I get that, but I'm gonna give an example. Your people had multiple jobs. Everybody around us had multiple jobs. All I'm saying is that Cosby created this image that lawyers that got multiple jobs. Even when you look at these CEOs of companies, they're usually on the board. So what I'm simply saying is that when you saw the Cosby Show and you saw Cliff, he's a doctor, Claire, she's a lawyer. That was the only job they had. Now, there's a couple times you saw Cliff doing other stuff, and as a black person, you're like, that nigga's doing other shit. He got other jobs. But there is a segment of society that grew up on there, and they're like, you only need one job. Me and you, we've always had multiple gigs. We've always, whether it was a hustle, whether it was landlord, hey, you have been a musician, filmmaker. You've always had multiple jobs. Bottom line is that you've always done multiple things and have multiple income streams. That's the only thing that I'm saying that I felt the Cosby Show fucked people up on, thinking that one income stream is enough. Literally, you're told to divest your investments. You need multiple income streams. But that's my only beef with the Cosby Show, because the Cosby Show made you respect your father. The Cosby Show made you know that, like, Gordon Cottrell was an ugly shirt. The Cosby Show had so much influence on us. And on the flip side, when the Cosby Show ran its course, then he would start producing another show on ABC called Roseanne. So Bill was always on that shit about helping people, making them understand who they were, having positive role models. Now, we know he was slipping people drugs and doing all this other shit at the same time, but hey, remember Dave Chappelle, one of his comedy things, he said, I don't know if it's true, but it was at the very end, he's talking about, but I was told that Bill Cosby paid for the PA system, the speakers at the March on Washington, because they didn't have enough money. Like, if Bill was doing that kind of stuff, I get that he has some bad things about him, but that is so, we wouldn't have had the March on Washington. We would not have the speech. I have a dream speech if it wasn't for that, his contribution. So that's the niggerverse. These are the stories that we know as black folks that white folks ain't got no clue about. And this is why our certain heroes are our heroes. This is something else that you brought up. Like, there's certain things I won't say about a black person or a white person. I don't agree with this person, that person, but I'll disagree quietly, or I'll disagree amongst my own people. I won't make that argument in front of a white person, because sometimes look, one of the examples I always brought up was, we grew up on Richard Pryor. You introduced me to the Richard Pryor albums. Richard said, white folks call Michael Leon Spinks dumb. Don't you think they're dumb? He's like, what do you say about me? It's like, no, hell no, they're not dumb. I think they're geniuses. They're genius in the boxing world, because he's saying that I'm not about to call a black man dumb to this white person, because I know they're talking about my ass when I leave the room. That's the shit. There's some arguments I'll make to Roscoe about black people I will not say to a white person. I'm like, hey, yeah, man. Wow. Obama. Who knew? I just let that shit go. But if it's me and him talking another...
But the funny thing is, though, as soon as he was running for president and he got elected, you saw how truly prejudiced some of these white people were with these, African tribesmen depictions of Barack Obama. I'm like, you letting that shit just hang the fuck out. Yeah, it was a Tea Party. You letting that bullshit hang out. Even though they take their name from a bunch of black Masons that were looking for their charter, dumping crates of tea into the fucking harbor.
Hold it. I didn't know you was going to go there. I didn't know you was going to go there.
And then you got these white motherfuckers who call themselves Electric Boogaloo. And I'm like, well, that's based off of black and Latino breakers. So what the fuck are you talking about?
Here's the most important one. This is the shit I want you guys to get from our podcast. The Confederate flag is based on a black Native American flag. You do know that, with stars and stripes like it is. The bars and banners, whatever they call that shit, is based off a Native American tribe. I'll look it up and show it to you, send you pictures of it. That is based on some Native American shit. So, black Native American, not these Plains Indians, not these motherfuckers that came over to land bricks. These is the niggas that was already over here. So, but that's what we mean by the niggerverse. This whole, I said Negro, the Negroverse. There is a whole sect of society that we know about, that we flourish in, that sometimes is good, sometimes is bad, but we have an understanding. Look, my brother just said he was an MC. Is an MC, not was. Is an MC. Did you ever have a desire to go to a puffy party?
Never, ever, ever. But there were always discussions about him and Jay-Z and the types of parties. One time, Jay-Z came to this club called Kaya in Atlanta, Midtown. It's a very popular club. And I don't think I was there that night, but there was somebody I was working with that was there that night. And they said he came outside with a case of Cristal champagne, and he set it on the ground. And there was a bunch of women outside. He's like, all y'all women that's fucking, come over here and stand by this champagne. All y'all that's not fucking, keep it moving. And I was like, man, that's some real disrespectful shit right there. Like, I mean, you know, like when I heard that, I'm like, that dude is a fucking scumbag. To put it like so dry and so bland like that, that means you have no respect for these black women at all.
How about you have no game without your money? Without money, you wouldn't have shit. Like your whole game is based on you having money. Like, here's the thing. I've been broke for years, and I've been getting bitches. You know what I'm saying? So whether I have money or not, I still have an engaging conversation. I still have the ability to, you know, entertain or captivate or whatever. How about this? We grew up we grew up during the AIDS thing where Magic Johnson came out and said that he had HIV. So this is that niggerverse. So
Negroverse.
Yes, Negroverse. Wait, you decide after I tell you the story. So
no, the niggerverse is a small subset of the Negroverse. Niggas ain't build pyramids. Black people did.
It's a suburb. But my cousin, before the whole AIDS thing happened, my cousin was telling me about parties where they would go to LA Laker parties, and she's like, look, hurt my feelings. She said, a little duct tape, I'm gonna tell you, I went to a lot of Laker parties, and there would be some good looking guys there, real fine men, and they would go off with the basketball players. They would go off with Magic. I'm like, what are you talking about? Magic's not gay. I'm not saying he's full-fledged gay, but he doesn't get gay. My cousin, my big cousin, she's much older than me. She's telling me this stuff. And then fast forward to 92 or whatever, 90, when he announces he has HIV. And I'm like, my cousin, like, see, told you. He don't let him fool you. He did not get HIV from sleeping with women. He was sleeping with men at the time. And I'm like,
Piccolo player's a motherfucker. But these are things that were common knowledge in the Negroverse.
Same thing with the whole Eddie Murphy thing, where she was getting her hair done. One of the women that Eddie Murphy used to date was getting her hair done there also, and she said that, hey, Eddie got a thing for boys that look like girls. Fast forward to now, there's all kinds of things coming out now about that. But back then, for her, I'm like, what? What do you mean? You know, because I'm a little kid.
You know, it's funny, man. Like, one person I would like to speak to who is passed away that would have a lot to say about this shit is Charlie motherfucking Murphy.
I'm gonna tell you like this: Charlie defended his brother to the end.
No, but I'm talking about the Puffy shit.
Oh. But let me say something that you pointed out very earlier in the conversation. You described the Wayans family as existing without Puffy, not needing that. So I bet you Charlie would tell us some stuff that we wouldn't believe, because Charlie was big before Puffy was even a thing. You know what I'm saying? So he existed outside that world. That's why when you described the Wayans was a very deep thing, and people ain't gonna understand how profound that was. You have black circles that don't intersect, that they can see each other, but they don't intersect.
No, they're parallel existences within the Negroverse.
And so
we're definitely gonna have to do a part 2 to this shit, because this is, you know, there's a lot more to go on.
But like I said, but what we're talking about, there are there's whole things that as black people, that black people, you know, information, but it's not something that you share.
All right, so look, we'll leave the rest of that for part 2. Look, that's all I got. We out. Peace.
Holla back.